Australia's economic growth numbers will be released by the Australian Bureau of Statistics any second now. To take us all through it, let's bring in live our business reporter, Edward Boyd. Ed, we've seen that economists have been predicting that Australia's GDP will grow 0.4% in the June quarter. Have we got the data through yet? Can you tell us?
We've got the data, Ash,
right?
and that is correct. So economic growth has come in exactly as anticipated by Australia's economists. They were expecting 0.4% growth in the June quarter, and that's what we've seen. So that's the quarterly growth number for Australia's economy. That quarter was really characterised by a number of things. Number one, commodity prices during the June quarter were substantially lower than the June quarter the year prior. Remember, the June 2022 quarter, we had iron ore prices at record levels. We had coal prices at very high levels as well, upwards of $500 a tonne in some cases. We also had really high prices of LNG gas. So those commodities have fallen in price. They're still priced at very high levels, but they've come down quite significantly. So that is the reason for why Australia's growth has pulled ahead just sort of a bit slightly in this quarter. It's creeped ahead by 0.4%. It's also worth noting in the March quarter, the growth was 0.2%. So economic growth is slightly better in the June quarter compared to the March quarter. At an annualised rate, economists were expecting growth of 1.8% in the year to the June quarter. Instead, it's actually grown more than expected. So Australia's economy is up 2.1% in the June quarter. So I'm just going to bring up the media release here from the Bureau of Statistics. They basically say gross domestic product rose 0.4% in the June quarter. That's what we know. The head of the ABS National Accounts says this was the 7th straight rise in quarterly GDP. Annual growth remained above trend, reflecting the absence of significant COVID-19 disruptions, such as lockdowns, which happened last year. So Australia's economy, the growth it's not a massive number, but Australia's economy is growing, and it's growing at a slow level, Ash, let's be honest.
Well, the economists don't always get it right, do they? But they were spot on with that quarter figure today. Now, I guess we'll all be wondering what the Reserve Bank will think of those numbers. How do you think they'll interpret the figures?
Well, what the RBA has tried to do since May last year is slow our economy down. They want to slow down consumer spending, and we've started to see that impact on the economic growth figures. So I think the RBA is going to look at today's numbers and say, OK, things are tracking as we anticipated. We're actually going to hear from Governor Philip Lowe in his final speech as leader of the Reserve Bank tomorrow afternoon. Here's the stock market reaction. You can see the market was already down about 0.4% before the numbers have come out. You can actually see that little tiny lift there. That is in the last couple of minutes. We've seen the market lift very slightly off the back of these figures. I think that's to do with the annual growth rate being better than expected. Aussie dollar, though, has dipped. Now, it was at buying about 64 US cents earlier in the week. You can see it's now below 64. It's at about 63.6, 63.7 cents. And the bond yield is now fallen slightly as well. This is the one-year government bond yield. It's down at about the 4% level. So a little bit of a blip, not too much of a stock market reaction today to today's GDP numbers because, as you say, Ash, economists were expecting 0.4%, and that's exactly what we got.
Ed, we know that China's economy is slowing down. We're hearing a lot more about that at the moment. Is that going to start having an impact on our economy here soon?
It has started to have an impact on commodity prices, particularly the biggest commodity that we sell, iron ore. So the iron ore price was particularly high last year. It's now come down substantially and is hovering around the $100-110 a tonne level. And that's because economic demand in China is slowing. We're actually going to get some figures from China over this coming weekend around inflation, because one issue China's economy has seen recently or experienced has been a lack of inflation. We've got inflation too high here in Australia. In China, they're actually experiencing deflation. So we should get more confirmation of that on Saturday when the numbers are released. But obviously, China is our biggest export partner, and if their economy starts to slip and slow, which it is, and it has been for basically this calendar year, it is going to have an impact on economic demand, and it's going to mean they're not going to be buying as much goods and services. Their trade is going to fall off a little bit because they're going to be more focused on stimulating their economy and getting things back up and running again. So that's definitely an economic risk for Australia, and I'm sure lots of economists are watching that very closely, how it pans out over the next few months.
Yeah, you think so? Ed Boyd, appreciate the analysis. Thank you.